I'm here at the Washington State Fairgrounds.
I went to the first day of the Washington State Gaming Expo. Some of the vendors had some retro games, so I was on the hunt looking for ones to add to my collection. This guy actually had a Chrono Trigger just sitting out. This guy had a Samsung Saturn controller in the box. He also had a pretty big bin of import Saturn games of all different kinds. He also had an import Macross game for the Sega Dreamcast that I actually didn't know too much about. I should have gotten it. You don't see import Xbox 360 games too often. Boxed Elise 2 for Game Gear. Do I go with Bible Adventures or Gremlins 2? Saw some pricey boxed Master System. Controversial Phantasy Star 2 hint book. This adorable scruffy mystery Famicom game, which I couldn't say no to. Saw some Asian Hong Kong NES games. That is pretty far out there. Glad to see that there were some classic arcade games set up in free play mode, like Mappy. Crazy Climber, Karate Champ, Root Beer Tapper. Glad to see the early 80s arcade represented. I was actually really impressed by Graham Games, a local retro video game shop, and they had an incredible selection. I was super tempted to get that Secret of Mana and then put it inside a Japanese Super Famicom case because I'm into that stuff. They have Snow Bros, Metal Storm, and Zombie Nation. Not bad. Not cheap, but I'm impressed by their selection. I need to go to this shop soon. The Retro Gaming Lounge was a bit of a letdown. I didn't see any original hardware or CRT TVs, just these little mini consoles. This was the first hour of the first Washington State Gaming Expo, and the entire thing, it sort of seemed all over the place and a little unfocused. They tried a lot of different kinds of gaming, and it just sort of seemed like a hodgepodge thrown at the wall. But it will be interesting to see what happens. Did get to see former Bungie composer Marty O'Donnell, who actually remembered me interviewing him almost 20 years ago. After the expo, I went to Retro Emporium in Kent, and it is all sorts of awesome. Now, they do have a decent selection of video games. It's not the biggest, but they're all bangers. But what's really amazing is this place is just curated. It has so much awesome stuff. Every single inch is just Gen X nostalgia. If you lived through the 1980s and 1990s, every single inch of this place is gonna tickle your member berries. You got Duck Hunt on a CRT, an old school CD player that I was tempted to get. I used to have that. Vinyl cassette tapes. Kiss. Posters, hats. Pokemons. And heading back to the video games. Every inch of this place is well used and curated. Saw a Game Boy game that I wanted. A little pricey, but they had the Mega Man and Mighty Final Fight. This store was run by a rad woman, and you could really tell that this place was a product of love, and it wasn't just dude stuff. It had stuff that both boys and girls from the 80s and 90s fell in love with, and it is just this trip down this awesome nostalgia museum that you can buy. Scholastic books. Remember those? Pencils. Ice cream. Ninja Turtles and candy. Bubblegum cards. It's just overwhelmingly awesome. Al's Music on the Ave in the University District in Seattle is one of the places that made me fall in love with retro video games. So when I found out that they had a second branch in Federal Way, I had to drive over and check it out. It really is incredible how much it feels like the original OG Al's store on the Ave. They got your lo-fi, your anime, and your city pop on vinyl. Wow. Al's Music is like this alternative reality where this whole streaming digital media never took place. This place is holy land for those who collect physical media. They had an instant collection of HD DVD, and I was tempted to get Brett's Master System games. Al's in Federal Way is almost as awesome as the original. I went by Centralia on the way home to go to Alltech, but unfortunately they were closed for the Expo. I've been on the lookout for a copy of Streets of Rage 2 for the Game Gear. There's just something I absolutely love about this 8-bit version of an awesome Sega beat-em-up game. The music is rad, too. I was looking for Gremlins for the NES. The label was a little scruffy, but that's not gonna stop me, and it was a legit cart. So I already have a copy of Pac-Man for Famicom, but it is cool to see the Tengen version. It's the same game, but it's unauthorized. So I had to get this mystery Famicom game, and I took it home, and my suspicions was correct. It is Banana, an absolutely very interesting yet pretty tough puzzle game for the OG Famicom. One of these days I need to make a video on Compile, and this is Guardian Legends, their game of a robot girl who transforms into a plane to save the world. I just had to get this totally scruffy copy of Kaneki the Radical Ninja for NES. I love this game, I have it on Famicom, but I can't say no to this scruffy copy. I've also been on the hunt for a copy of R-Type DX. I love this game, and I've been getting more into portable games, so I've been looking for a copy of R-Type DX. Sungetapon is a little obscure but actual fun puzzle game for the Neo Geo Pocket. Not the color, an actual black and white game that stayed in Japan. So there was a fire at one of the prior locations of Al's, and this copy of Super Mario Bros. Duck Hunt and World Class Track Meet survived their fire. So I just had to give it a good home because that is a hell of a story. And I have a power pad. So being a true son of the state of Washington, I had to do my patriotic duty and pump my own gas before going on the bridge back to Oregon. This is 8-Bit Joystick. Stay awesome. Play retro.